पे
जो सूजन तो आई। अब माने फागुन के महीना में 1 महीना खाया इसकी दवाई बोलने की भर्ती कर दो।
हाँ
हमने की भर्ती कर दो तो के अब ऑपरेशन मत कराओ, परेशानी बढ़ जाएगी। तो ही फिर हमने फिर दवाई खाई के बंद रह गई।
ठीक है। So today we are going to talk about a patient who was operated 2 years back for perforation of the gallbladder, and she was operated here in the city by one of the surgeons by an open procedure. And operation के बाद इसमें मुवाद तो नहीं पड़ गया था?
ना, तो
कुछ नहीं पड़ा।
ना,
टाके कितने दिन बाद निकाले थे?
टांगे लिखा रहे 10, 11, 12 दिन बाद लिखा
12 दिन बाद।
हाँ।
Normally, what happens is that in an open surgery, the risk of infection is more. But at the same time, since this patient complains of a history of perforated gallbladder, so in a perforated gallbladder, you need to clean the whole of peritoneal cavity. So for that, good access, of course, laparoscopic is a good option. But in an emergency, an open procedure is equally successful. So, if the option was there to go for an open or a laparoscopic, it will depend upon the condition of the patient at that point of time. Plus the logistics, the hospital facilities, the experience of the surgeon. So all those things counts, because in a perforated gallbladder, it is the risk of peritonitis. And that the longer the duration of operation or longer the duration of the unoperated state, all are going to complicate the procedure. So if the facilities are available, of course laparoscopic should be the first option, but that is not always needed. It is a life-saving procedure when the gallbladder is perforated and the risk of biliary peritonitis is very high. So now this patient has been operated 2 years back in a private hospital for perforated gallbladder, and fortunately the patient says that it was a clean operation. Post-operatively, she did not have any infection of the wound, and the stitches were removed after 8 to 10 days. So now any weakness of the anterior abdominal wall is complicated by the presence of infection. So if the operation was followed by infection of the wound, which is a very common occurrence in a perforated gallbladder or a perforated intestine, fortunately this patient did not have a perforation of the infection of the wound. But however, as we can see, the incisions and the marks of previous sutures, it shows that suturing was not proper technically, and that could lead to weakness of the scar. So after that, this patient was okay for about 1 year, and then she started having abdominal pain and swelling in the area of the previous surgery. Simultaneously, she says that she developed respiratory difficulty, and she is a known case of chronic obstructive lung disease. So if you have a patient who has been operated and there is any cause of rise in the intra-abdominal pressure, that may be because of chronic cough, it can be because of any other intra-abdominal source like constipation, even difficulty in micturition, stricture urethra, any of these causes, or straining during stool, all these contribute to rise in the intra-abdominal pressure. Plus the presence of ascites and any malignancy, primary or secondary, within the abdominal cavity. All these are risk factors for the dehiscence of the wound, resulting in an incisional hernia. So in this particular case, just focus on her face. Her faces appear to be having chronic obstructive lung disease. She is dyspneic and she has swelling over the face, and the eyelids are swollen, and she looks sick from the very beginning. So that all these point to a chronic chest infection or chronic chest disease. So that is a persistent problem for this patient for following this surgery. So that may have resulted in the weakness of the scar because of the rise in the intra-abdominal pressure. Because she has to breathe with difficulty. So that causes rise in the intra-abdominal pressure also at the same time, leading to further weakening of the scar. So that may result in an incisional hernia. Then other factors which cause incisional hernia are anemia with hypoproteinemia, then chronic diseases, and there can be immunocompromised state. So if you have these 6 or 7 causes where there is weakness of the abdominal wall, this may be because of anemia, hyperproteinemia, then you can have immunocompromised states, then chronic obstructive lung disease, obesity is another risk factor, then constipation, then stricture urethra, and any primary or secondary malignancy and ascites. So these are the risk factors for any patient who is having a previous abdominal surgery where she or she may have a possibility of rise in the intra-abdominal pressure leading to weakening of the scar and protrusion of the structures of the abdomen into the scar leading to an incisional hernia. So now we have done that. Now we will do the examination. So examination runs classically history followed by in general examination. In general examination you have to do a head to toe examination that I will not repeat, but in this case you have to examine of course the pulse, you have to see for clubbing and chlorinikia, blood pressure, respiratory rate, all those things have to be, because this is already a case of chronic obstructive lung disease. Respiratory rate is also very important. So once you have done all that, then you come to the pedal edema, and we just see her, she is also febrile also, she is having fever and there is tachycardia. So that means she is also presently not very healthy, she is sick also, and that may be because of the chest infection and chest disease. So, but there is no clubbing, there is no cholinikia, and pedal edema we check, there is no pedal edema. Now coming to the abdominal examination quickly, inspection, we
जी एक ऑपरेशन हो रहा है वो पहले बाबू को
इधर भी कोई ऑपरेशन हुआ था क्या?
हाँ यहाँ
क्या हुआ था?
एक साली को
है?
पहले एक और है वो जाके बाहर में जी भाऊ
बच्चे का बच्चेदानी का ऑपरेशन हुआ था?
हाँ हाँ एक साली
सिजेरियन। कितने साल पहले ये वाला हुआ था?
जी भाऊ ताते और 2 साल पहले
रसौली का हुआ। This रसौली का? अच्छा। She had a fibroid also in this previous and this. So on inspection, you can see the abdomen is distended, and there is a evidence of scar, which is subcostal scar. About where is the skin? Of course, inspection में exact measurement नहीं, लेकिन मैं आपको बता रहा हूँ because around 16 centimeters और ये 1.5 centimeter इसका transverse है. So there is a scar of previous surgery, subcostal scar, and there is a swelling just distal or on the lateral side of the scar, which is bulging outside into the skin. She also has a scar in the transverse direction in the lower abdomen. That is for a previous gynecological operation which was done. And the umbilicus is central and slightly transversely stretched. And there are multiple stria gravidarum on both sides. There is no visible peristalsis and there is no visible pulsation. And the respiratory movements are more. And that is tachypnea is there. So now we will do the palpation, and we start from the left iliac fossa, and there is no mass, no lump, no tenderness. Now when we come to the right side, we feel that there is a swelling which is reducible. The swelling is reducible and it is just distal to the scar. And there is weakness of the middle part up to the distal part of the scar. So here the scar is bit okay, but when you go distally, there is a defect. My fingers are going inside the abdomen. Now there are two tests which we do. First is the head raising test. दोनों हाथ सर के नीचे रखिए, सर ऊपर उठाइए. Now when she is doing this, it is going inside, the muscles are becoming prominent and there is a depth there and the swelling is also becoming prominent. So this test reveals that there is weakness of the middle part of the scar and there is a swelling appearing because of the rise in the intra-abdominal tension. Now when she is relaxed, now we will confirm that finding by palpating the scar and my finger is going inside the abdomen. So there is a complete defect in the muscles in this area. So there is skin and it is directly going into the abdominal cavity. Here there is a swelling appearing externally. Now we will push it back into the scar area. And she is complaining of pain also. And then we will ask her to cough. Ab khasi kijiye. So there is impulse on coughing and there is gradual increase in the size of the swelling. So for a hernia, two things are needed. One is cough impulse and reducibility and the presence of defect. So in this case, all the three things are positive. There is a cough impulse which is positive. There is reducibility and there is a palpable defect in the abdominal wall. So this is a case of incisional hernia where the swelling is not appearing in the area of the previous operation. It is on the lateral side of the previous surgery. So there is a cavity and a sac has formed in that area where the intestinal contents are going. So in this case, this area is not having actually the pathology. The pathology is on the lateral side. So that has to be taken care of during surgery. Otherwise, if we only tighten the scar here and put a mesh on this, that is not sufficient. What we'll have to do is to open this sac and completely divide the sac and take all the contents back into the abdominal cavity. So once that is done, then we suture the abdominal wall and then we put a mesh over it and that will take care of this pathology. So in this case, there are two important things which have to be taken into account. First is her physical state, especially the respiratory system has to be evaluated. Pulmonary function test has to be done, chest x-ray has to be done. Of course, the clinical evaluation is already done, which shows rhonchi in both the lungs. So now this is a case of chronic obstructive lung disease with an incisional hernia with the contents which are intestine in the sac. So these contents have to be taken care of during surgery. So first of all, how we prepare this patient. So the preparation of this patient starts with the management of the chronic obstructive lung disease. So unless and until that is stabilized, any surgery will not be successful in this case. Why? Because she will cough, she will strain and her intra-abdominal pressure will rise again and the same thing will result and she will have a recurrence of the hernia. So in order to prevent the recurrence, the first thing which is needed in this case is to stabilize her present respiratory condition. Moreover, she appears to be obese. We'll also advise her to get some reduction of the weight. So this is a mandatory requirement for any incisional hernia. Because the intestine also contains omentum and others which are very, very fatty. They may not be appearing outside, but inside the whole intestine and the omentum and all surrounding structures are having fatty deposits. So if the weight is very high and the patient is very obese, any further surgery will again result in a recurrence of the disease. So two things need to be done, and then we will have to see her anemia. Now she may be having anemia as well, as there is tachycardia and respiratory distress is there, and chronic obstructive lung disease itself causes anemia. So if she's anemic, we have to treat anemia. If she's having chronic obstructive lung disease, it cannot be finished altogether, but it can be stabilized. So you have to make it in such a way that she can be operated and the status quo may be maintained. Then finally we have to decide surgery for this patient, because in any hernia the treatment is surgery. There is no medicine in the world which can treat a hernia. There is only surgical intervention. But with the change of times, we have various options of management of incisional hernia. So in this case, both are possible. We can do a laparoscopic incisional hernia repair, or we can do an open hernia repair. So that will depend upon the stage of the overall status of the patient. Because since she has respiratory problems and carbon dioxide we have to instill inside the peritoneal cavity for maintaining the pneumoperitoneum. So in this patient, installation of carbon dioxide in the peritoneal cavity may not be advisable. So we have to discuss with the anesthetist and the persons who are responsible for maintaining the state during anesthesia. In that situation, an open procedure would be a better option. So we have to take care of that, and once we have to reduce the contents, excise the sac, and do a repair of all the layers by interrupted sutures or by using non-absorbable sutures, Prolene or some other suture which is available. And then we may put a mesh in this case. The mesh will be not inside the peritoneal cavity, it will be outside the peritoneal cavity. So that has to be done, and then we'll close the abdominal cavity with a drain. So hopefully with these things, first of all, taking care of her anemia, taking care of her respiratory condition, and proper preparation of the patient before surgery. And of course, some reduction in the weight if that is possible. All these are followed by a laparoscopic or open surgery. That decision will be taken by the anesthetist and the surgeon together. Thank you very much.